Hello, fabulous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 278, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/278. In today's episode, I'm going to break it down for you. How do you overcome a fear of success? And first and foremost, do you have a fear of success? Let's dive into this one. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. So, before we work out how you overcome your fear of success, let's first just check in on whether you have a fear of success. And actually, we all do. We all have a fear of success at some level. And there is a level of success that we could achieve, or a type of success that we could achieve, that we feel will have negative consequences. Whether we are conscious of those beliefs around the negative consequences, or whether it is a subconscious or unconscious belief. So let's consider hitting your financial goals. Maybe you've set financial targets that are nice and safe for you, but if you were to double that result, you have either a conscious or subconscious or unconscious belief system that might expose you to trolls, or that might mean that you pay so much tax and you hate paying tax, or that might mean that an ex will see your success and try and bring you down, or, there's so many different negative consequences that our brains like to imagine when it comes to that level of success. You might have a goal to have a $1 million business, but you want to try and have that $1 million business quietly because there's actually a fear of success in there. Yeah, there's a belief system around, if I want to have the $1 million, then if I do it loud and proud, that's going to open me up to certain negative consequences, and therefore I want the success, but only with these particular caveats. So I truly believe that we all do have a fear of success, but for some of us, it's about a particular type of success, or it's a particular level of success at which it is sparked off. And so you might right now feel very comfortable, and your biggest fear is around having failures come up and your fear of making mistakes, but you may also be throttling your success because that fear of success is there at some point. Now, I definitely felt when I first started my business, my biggest fear was the fear of failure, and particularly public failure, public mistakes, sharing something on Facebook and having no one reply or comment, those crickets, and people seeing me try to have my little business instead of seeing me succeed at having a business. And so my fear of success wasn't particularly engaged until I reached the same level of income as I was getting in my corporate career. Once I got back to that same level of income, that's when I started to notice these little pop-up thoughts about, be careful, you're going to start getting trolls, or be careful, your boss might see, be careful. There was all these little be carefuls that popped up in my thoughts. And so by paying attention to those thoughts, I could see it was actually starting to set off that fear of success. So how do you overcome a fear of success if it is presenting itself to you? Now, it might present itself in you noticing some of those pop-up thoughts, or it might present itself to you because you see you keep hitting an income plateau, or you keep hitting a level of money that you can have in your life, whether it be income or what you've hold on to. So, your set point from an income perspective or from a cash in hand perspective. So I also personally found I had some issues around income up in the over $150,000 range, but my comfortable set point in terms of how much money I had access to at any point in time was pretty much zero, if not like less, or being in debt. So my income grew very quickly in my business, but the amount of money that was left in my bank at the end of each month stayed the same. And so it was actually a discomfort with excess money sticking around that was the cause of that fear of success popping up for me firstly. And I noticed that not through pop-up thoughts, but just by seeing how much, whenever I had a bulk of money come in, it went out. And whenever I thought I was being able to build up that buffer of income and that money sitting in the bank, something would happen and I would need to bring it back to zero. And so I saw this pattern of always bouncing back to that same level, that same energetic set point. And that's what told me there was some fear of success going on. I had a discomfort with that excess money hanging around. So how do you overcome this? Well, I've got 3 key steps. The first one is to pay attention. Pay attention to the thoughts, pay attention to the evidence that you are seeing. So pay attention, notice what's happening. Do you have some of those pop-up thoughts that just be careful, or you have evidence because you can see that once you hit $5,000 income for the month, it's like it dries up and nothing else comes in for the rest of the month. Or you have 3 or 4 sales in quick succession and then it's just dried up until you really need those sales to come in again, or even beyond that. So not just paying attention and noticing the thoughts, they're very powerful to pay attention to, but also listening to and paying attention to the evidence, the signs that there could be a potential upper limit that you might be hitting. Now, I'm going to recommend a book here. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I highly recommend getting it on Audible because it's read by Gay Hendricks, and he is this older man with a really beautiful voice. And so it's like having a very wise granddad figure reading this book to you and talking to you about overcoming those upper limits. I definitely recommend that book. I have both the written version, the print version, and the Audible version, and my print version is full of bookmarks and notes. My Audible version I listen to at least once a year because as I hit new upper limits, I'm seeing different signs, or maybe the same sign in different forms showing up, and it's a really powerful time in my life to be going through listening to The Big Leap. I like to listen to The Big Leap. This is all about seasons now. I'm just going on a little sidebar. I like to listen to The Big Leap towards the end of winter each year because I feel like in the spring, that's when I'm like coming out with like this new renewed energy. Winter can sometimes be a real closing down period. You know, things might be a little quieter. And so in the spring, you know, start of spring, end of winter, I like to listen to The Big Leap each year because I feel like it's such a solid platform to then just like spring into spring. You can listen to it whenever, but that's just my personal preference. So notice those thoughts, write it down, listen to those pop-up thoughts, and give yourself little opportunities to notice as well. So pay attention to the evidence. Keep track of what is your overall net worth at the end of every month. Just pay attention to that. Jot it down every month. Just pay attention. Write down different types of success and visualize yourself achieving different goals. And then pay attention to what thoughts pop up. So I noticed when I was visualizing myself with a really beautiful fancy beach house and walking along the beach with Davey and, you know, having, maybe a very low mortgage or something along those lines. And I would notice whenever I was visualizing those things, I'd have these pop-up thoughts of, everyone's going to want to come and stay with us. And there are some people who I would happily have stay all the time, but there are other people who I was like, I don't really want them to come and stay with us all the time. Like, I want it to be our sanctuary as well. And so, of course, that's a negative consequence, right? I was feeling like if I manifest that goal, if I have that level of success, my home needs to be a free-for-all for anyone who wants to come and stay at it, because I have a belief around like, all of my successes must be shared with all of my immediate and not so immediate friends and family. So, that's a really important one to pay attention to. But I wouldn't have noticed that pop-up thought if I didn't consistently spend time visualizing those different parts of my success or different goals and what it would be like if I achieved those. So give yourself some time and space to notice these thoughts as well. All right, then the second thing is to get curious about those thoughts. Or about those pieces of evidence. So where might this have come from? Where have you experienced it before? Where have you heard those telling lessons? So for example, maybe, there's a limiting belief or there's a pop-up thought of, well, if you have that much money, your relationship is going to be so miserable or your kids are going to be so spoiled. Where have you heard that before? Where did that particular lesson or belief come from? Yeah. So get curious about that. Why? Why do you assume that that's going to be the outcome? And a really powerful thing to pay attention, especially with those pop-up thoughts, is whose voice is it? Because I know a lot of my fear of success, the voice that is popping up for me is either my younger self, so maybe 7 to 10-year-old Tash, or the voice is a voice of a family member. And, particularly my mum. My mum was a very strong voice in my upbringing. So, of course, all of those, wise piece of advice that she would talk about, those things that she would notice about, people who had more money than us, that was hardwired into my system. What my mum said was true. So think about whose voice you might be hearing that in. And you just pay attention to those things. Be curious about where they come from without judgment. Just be really curious. And then the third thing is to come up with some strategies to address it. So you will notice here that my advice when it comes to a fear of success is not just to bottle it all up and white knuckle it through and just, achieve the success and go through all of that awkwardness and that sensation and fear and just suck it up and go through it anyway. I honestly, truly believe that that is the equivalent of, pushing down the rubbish and spraying some perfume on it and then expecting it never to stink again, right? It's never going to come back if I just ignore it. I'll just ignore it. And I think sometimes we can have that sense of almost toxic positivity where if you have one of those pop-up thoughts, you're like, no, I can't think that. And actually all you're doing is giving energy to that thought and that negative belief instead of calmly going, oh, that's interesting. I wonder where that came from, and unpacking it and letting it go and clearing it. You've made it the problem and you've just squashed, you get a whiff of the garbage and you just squash it down and spray more perfume. And that, whilst I think there's always place for, choosing your thoughts and programming your brain to the positive, I don't think that needs to be at the expense of paying attention to some of those limiting beliefs and getting curious about them and giving yourself time and space to move through them. So the third one is to take some action to move through that or clear it or address it. And I break this down into 2 parts. I think for any problem of this nature or any limit of this nature or any fear of this nature, you can have strategy solutions and mindset solutions or energetic solutions. So I like to choose one of each or a few of each. So for example, you could, in the strategy side, you could have some kind of strategy to deal with it if it happened. So for example, if you have that giant beach house. So this is one of my plans. Once we get that giant beach house, then I'm going to be very clear on when I do and don't want people coming and staying with us. So during a launch, not a good time for visitors. When I am in deep creativity mode, not a great time for visitors. So I'm going to boundary up the times when people can come and stay with us. I'm going to be more mindful about that reflex mechanism that I have, that whenever I speak to someone about a place we're staying in, I want to invite people to it just as a reflex. I'm going to think it through and I'm going to stop myself. It's something I've already been practicing because I come away on retreat quite consistently in my business, and my default is to just invite everyone to come and stay on retreat with me. But I come away on a solo retreat consistently because I know that time by myself is a really powerful, strategic and creative time for me. It's not in my best interest to invite everyone to come and stay with me when I'm meant to be on a solo business retreat. But I have other times where I will invite people to come and stay with us. So, for example, we're going to a birthday party in a few weeks' time, and I have said to all of my family, we're going to book a giant house and we can all stay together. Anyone who wants to come and stay with us, you can come and stay with us. So I'm getting my fix of everyone coming and staying with us, but not at the expense of that solo time. And so it's a great way to practice that strategy before I even have the ginormous beach house. So you can have some strategies around it. You can plan for it. Let's say you're worried about that visibility creating trolls. Well, have a strategy for if someone trolls my page, here's what I will do. Delete and block, address any concerns that my audience might have, move on with my life, right? Send them love and light. Maybe you have a little healing spell that you can do on them and send them some love. But that doesn't mean you need to keep them in your space. You can delete and block. So having a strategy or a plan for it, if it does happen, can sometimes be enough for you to feel like I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I don't need to worry about that right now. If it happens, if it is a negative consequence of my success, here is how I will deal with that from a strategic perspective. The final example I want to give on the strategy side is also just thinking about proactive ways to prevent those negative consequences from happening. So let's say one of your fears of success is that if your family know how much you're earning, then everyone's going to want a loan. Well, maybe you just make a plan that you don't tell people. You don't disclose your income to your family and friends. You just start practicing not talking about your income. That's okay. Not everyone has the right to know everything that's going on in your life. And maybe you've trained them that they hear about all of the financial results, but you can untrain them, yeah? Or, if you feel like you're worried that certain family members might comment on certain viewpoints or posts on your Facebook page, block them from your page in advance, right? You don't need to wait for them to be up in arms or bring something up or whatever. You can put them on a block from your business page and keep your spaces safe from that potential. So there's definitely some proactive things that you can do from a strategy perspective. And then from a mindset and energetic perspective, there are some things you can do as well. So one of the things that I love is EFT or tapping. So I'll tap on, even though I'm really worried that I'm going to get a giant unexpected tax bill, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, right? So you can see the strategy side of, well, if you're worried about a tax bill, get some help with your taxes and make sure you're putting money aside in advance, and then give yourself that practical reassurance that you're not going to have it happen. But then also, let's clear out that subconscious worry that will just keep popping up into your consciousness. So let's tap it out. And often when I'm tapping on one of those fears, I unexpectedly blurt something else out that is related. It's all tangled up. So one of the things that I have around fear of getting in trouble for taxes, definitely a big one for me, is I have a huge fear of authority, full stop. So there are related fears to that around, I don't want industry leaders to say that something I am teaching is completely wrong. I don't want to be seen by the big gurus and have them think that I am completely disparaging them and then create this like online war. Like, I'm really not interested in engaging in that. So by tapping on that particular expression of the fear, sometimes you'll also create that really perfect environment for yourself to see how other fears might also be coming into play here. So tapping, really great. I also do love a good affirmation and a good affirmation. So for example, if there's a fear of being seen, visibility, and you don't want people to judge you, right? So you can say, why is my business so amazing at attracting like-minded people in? And, how did I create such an amazing supportive audience, right? So your affirmations are where you pose an affirmation in the form of a question, and your subconscious goes to work and creates that reality, which is really powerful. It's really beautiful. Or simply the affirmation, right? My audience love what I share. My work is for those people who are hungry for it and are open to this. It's not for those who will judge it. You don't have to be palatable to everyone. I am allowed to have my opinion or my way of doing things, and people are excited to hear that. So affirmations and affirmations are great. And something else we also do in the Takeoff program is turnarounds. And the turnarounds are about creating an affirmation for yourself that's in the making. So an example of this would be if you are worried, no one's going to want to buy from me. I'm creating a business where people are hungry to buy from me, right? So you're turning it around and creating an affirmation, but not just people want to buy from me, because you might be like, but people don't, right? You don't want to create that argument with yourself in your head. So instead, it's like, I'm creating a business where people will be so hungry to buy from me. And the people who I attract are going to see deep intrinsic value in what I have to offer. So in the Takeoff program, the way that we start the turnarounds is, I'm creating a business where, or I'm creating a business in which, right? So you're creating that turnaround, and it's a turnaround in the making. Yeah, beautiful. And then on the more energetic side, you could engage someone to actually do some deep healing for you. So one of the things that I discovered as I went through the process of growing my business was that a lot of my particular fears of success had to do with some unresolved challenges in the masculine. And so I engaged a healer to work on balancing the masculine and the feminine, and some ancestral issues in relation to the masculine, and masculine energy and my masculine heritage as well. And that, my father's lineage, there was some unresolved stuff. So you can engage someone to help you with healing that space. You can work with coaches and mentors. You can have someone just do a clearing of that particular fear. There's some amazing people that you can work with. Do some kinesiology. When I first started my business, kinesiology consistently every month was a non-negotiable for me, because I knew this was going to be a big energetic growth phase for me in starting my business. And so I wanted to make sure that I had appropriate support from an appropriate provider, and not feeling like I had to DIY everything, because, when we work on ourselves, even when it comes to tapping, mindset, coaching, healing, clearing, even though I am a qualified EFT practitioner, I still work with a tapping practitioner, because when we're doing it just on our own, we can very easily convince ourselves, oh yeah, I've totally worked on that. But actually we're in this space where we don't want to dig any deeper. And we subconsciously are like, yeah, it's fine. I've totally cleared all of that out. But actually, if you were working with an external practitioner, they might help you to uncover some areas where you're just resisting even going there, and you're doing it in a really protected, safe space as well. So they are some of the mindset and energetic ways that you can clear it, move through it, and address that fear of success as it comes up. So that's how we overcome. My advice is, number one, notice, pay attention to the evidence and the thoughts. 2, get curious. Don't judge it. Don't blame it. Don't create shame around it. Just ask questions. Where does this come from? Whose voice is this? Why would I think that way? What's going on here? Yeah. And then thirdly, have some strategies to address it. And I recommend a balance of tangible strategy, practical ways, and mindset and energetic ways. And bringing those two things working together can be really powerful. So if you are thinking, oh, this is quite good, I want to move through one of those upper limits, especially around income, I have really good news for you today. And that is that I am opening up a special opportunity to join my 30-day business blast at a significant discount. So you get it for under $20. So if you are interested in coming and joining that, just make sure you come to the show notes at tashcorbin.com/278, and we'll put the most up-to-date link where you can get access to that course at a significant discount. It's normally $99.99 Australian dollars. Sometimes it's like weird conversion rates, so don't worry about any of that. It's hosted on Udemy, so they have their own pricing structures and way that they price in different countries. But if you come and use my special link within the next month, you will get it at under $20 or equivalent. So go and check that one out at tashcorbin.com/278. Now, one of the things I want to say about the 30-day business blast is, one, it's just buy it once. You can do it over and over and over again. And the reason why I offer it in this way is because there's going to be a need for you to pay attention to that fear of success consistently, because what you're afraid of now may be different to what you're afraid of at the next income level or that next level of success. Or it may be the same, but it shows up slightly differently. And one of the most powerful pieces of advice that I've ever received when it comes to, expanding my capacity to receive and expanding my income and my levels of success is that the work of moving through those upper limits is consistent. It's not something where you just do it once and you never have that fear again. You never have that problem again. You never worry about that consciously or subconsciously again. As you move through those different levels, they say new level, new devil. Sometimes it's new level, same devil, but it's showing up again because at this level, the stakes are higher, or the fear is greater and it's just been unlocked again. And so I do recommend that you work on that mindset, those energetic beliefs, your capacity to receive, and ensuring you're supporting yourself to consistently grow that success level, that upper limit, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I think that's a really important part of being a business owner, especially if you are leaping through those beliefs about what you are capable of achieving in particular. So the 30-day business blast is a 30-day program that has daily videos and actions to take. They're tiny little things that you can do each day that stack on top of each other to just really next level your ability to receive. It's through the lens of setting a 30-day income goal, and then each day there's a task for you to do to work towards achieving that goal. And we toggle between a strategy or practical way of moving your business forward. So it might be marketing or a strategy or a practical thing that you can do. And then on the next day, it's a mindset or energetic piece. And then strategy, mindset, strategy, mindset, strategy, mindset. So you're bringing those two pieces together really beautifully. And yes, all of that under $20 if you go and use the link at tashcorbin.com/278. If you have any questions about this, of course, please just get in touch. And until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.